So let's take a look at homework 5, number 3. They're asking us to find the derivative of the function f by using the rules of differentiation. And so we are going to do just that. Now the first thing that you'll notice is they give us the function f of u equals 1 over the square root of u. If you're anything like me, when I was in calculus for the first time, every time I saw a square root sign, I had a miniature panic attack because I thought that meant things were going to be a lot more complicated. I can deal with regular numbers, I can deal with regular letters, but the minute you threw a square root sign in there, I kind of freaked out. So what I want you to know is that the square root sign is actually good in this case because there's a way we can change it to use our power rule. So the first thing we need to do is remember something about square roots and then something about exponents. We'll make these little side notes. Remember, the first thing I want you to remember is that if you have a square root of anything, in this case it's u, but the square root of anything is the same as u to the 1/2 power. Okay, so whatever is under the square root, you can raise that to the 1/2 power. That's the exact same thing. And I know what you're thinking to yourself. You're thinking fractional exponents. That's not really any better than square roots, but I promise you it is. The other thing we need to remember is a rule about exponents that, let's see, all right, remember here, remember that 1 over something with an exponent, so in this case we have u to the 1/2, is the same as u to the -1/2. That if you have an exponent in the denominator and you want to move it up to the numerator, you just change the sign on the exponent. If you've got an exponent in the numerator and for some reason you want to move it into the denominator, you would just change the sign on the exponent. But what we have here is, now we look back at our original function, we have 1 over the square root of u. Well, that's 1 over the square root of u, which, according to this thing that we just remembered here, is the same as 1 over u to the 1/2 power, which, using this rule here, is the same as u to the -1/2 power. I just moved the u up from the denominator, and since I was only multiplying by a 1, it just leaves me with this u to the -1/2. So now that we've got that, we need to use our differentiation rules. And the rule that we use in this case, because we have an exponent, is probably the easiest rule we've got other than the constant rule, and that's the power rule. So if f of u equals u to the -1/2, and we want to find f prime of u, and we use the power rule, just take the exponent. It's a fraction. I know it's a fraction. Just take that exponent, so -1/2, and bring it down. And now we put our u here, and the same thing we do if it's a whole number, we're going to subtract 1. Well, -1/2 minus 1, we'll actually write that out there so that you can see, minus 1, that's going to be the same as -1/2 u to the -3/2. And that is the answer to question number 3. So the tricky parts here are remembering rules about square roots and exponents, that if you have a square root, that's the same as raising it to the 1/2 power. And if you've got an exponent in your denominator and you want to move it up to the numerator, just move it up and change the sign. And once you're done with that, you can walk right through using the power rule the way that you do with any exponent in any other function that you happen to be differentiating. If you've still got questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, look for more videos. They are on the way.